Hey everybody, it's Cam from the Book Review. Today I will be talking about Apocalypse Parenting by Erin Ampersand. It is a system apocalypse lit RPG. Currently there's 3 books out. When we get into talking about the book again, I'll describe what system apocalypse is for those of you who aren't aware, and we'll talk a little bit about the genre in general and what sets this series apart from some of the other ones. But real quick, I had mentioned in the previous episode that the next day I was going to record and release an episode talking about what I was going to do. That was actually about 2 weeks ago that I recorded that. By the time I was done with that episode, I was starting to feel like I had a cold. By the time I woke up the next morning, I basically just lost my voice. I never even got really all that sick, but for like 10 days, I could barely speak above a whisper. Made it pretty hard to get back into to doing that. Also, I forgot to mention, yes, I am wearing my Halloween costume. This episode should be airing on Halloween. Felt like I should get into the festivities. My wife, in particular, loves Halloween. Both of us do. But before we had kids, she used to make just amazing costumes for us every year. She has a really cool one that she's had for a couple years now that she's going to be wearing this year that looks really awesome. It's like a mushroom. And usually she'll do something for the kids too. This one obviously was just a store-bought one that I've been wearing for several years now. I've got a new one coming, but it didn't show up yet in time to record this. Should be getting back to like my normal schedule as far as recording going on. I will have a day or so off every week now. Should be able to get a couple episodes recorded, and we'll get into things. The last thing I'll mention before I get into the episode itself is that I had mentioned I was going to talk about like what I was going to record and do for the next coming period. Then I remembered that Spiffbo 10, Spiffbox, the finalists are supposed to be all put together here pretty shortly. All 10 of those will be available, and that's what I'm going to do next. I'm starting November 1st. I'm going to start reading those. As soon as I finish each one, I will record an episode on it, and I'll put out that video. That video and my rating on these, it could be negative. That's the one thing. I almost always only talk about books that I really like. But when it comes to Spiffbo, I am actually a judge this time. So I will be rating the books based on, a standard 1 to 10 of what I think about them. So if I don't like a book, then it could potentially, have a 4 or 5 or something like that. I've read 2 of them so far, like them both. To varying degrees. So we'll get those, I'll reread those and then get them recorded. In between, I'll try to get a few of these LitRPG ones recorded in between. And I think that that's going to be a good way to go about it. Most of you who are watching these videos are doing it because I do indie books, and what better way to go about getting restarted basically with the channel after not recording for like 6-7 months than by getting the finalist for Spiffbo, which is what got me into indie books in the first place. Okay. All that out of the way, let's go ahead and start talking about this series. Now, once again, Apocalypse Parenting by Erin Ampersand. Also, as we get started on this, I am taking this hood off and unbuttoning a button. This costume is wonderful for Halloween night here in Idaho. I almost never, even if it's about freezing, which is not going to be much warmer than that for us when this episode is airing, just really warm. So sitting here inside my house, I'm sweating already after just 5-10 minutes in it. So Apocalypse Parenting. The author clearly is a mother. Her name is Erin Ampersand. I don't really honestly know anything else about her other than that she has this series out. Currently there's 3 books and a shorter story. I don't know how long it is. I haven't read it yet. That will have discussed the main character, whose name is Megan Moretti. It's her husband. He is off supposedly in Denver. They are in Alabama when the series starts, and so all technology, everything is gone. So he is out of the picture and doesn't play any role in these first few books. Now, I've mentioned that it's a system apocalypse. Now, what is a system apocalypse? That is a series. It's a very popular genre of lit RPG. Is my favorite genre, I think, so far of lit RPG. I do like progression, and I also, if it's not crazy high on numbers, I really, really like this System Apocalypse because I like world building. And one thing that System Apocalypse Lit RPG often includes is the Earth being completely transformed in some way. What will almost always happen is that the Earth is suddenly integrated into the multiverse. There can be, one other universe. There's often, an infinite number. I am currently on book 6 of Primal Hunter, and the Earth is the 93rd. Iteration, 93rd universe that's been integrated into the multiverse. Most of the time when that happens, then humans will suddenly get like a video game like interface, and they'll start leveling up. Dungeon Crawler Carl is a good example of this. So our Primal Hunter and Defiance of the Fall, those are some of the absolute biggest series at this point that are, the System Apocalypse. This one, think of it like Dungeon Crawler Carl in terms of that when we're integrated into the multiverse, humans are basically on like a big game show where as we have to do all these challenges and things like that, other races and peoples of the multiverse are watching for their own enjoyment as humans fight and die. In this one, what really sets this one apart, the whole apocalypse parenting part, is that there are challenges that will happen every couple, 3 weeks. And when those challenges happen, even children, like infants, are required to fight. Obviously, infants are unable to fight, and even little kids will have, quite a bit of trouble. But luckily, when they go and do these challenge events, they're allowed to go in groups of 4. So what our, main character does and tries to do is she'll go in with her 3 kids that she has. Other people will try to go in like maybe 2 adults, 2 kids. That's pretty common in their little group where they're at. So our main character, her name is Megan Moretti. She met her husband in college. He is an engineer. She has been a stay-at-home mom since she had those 3 kids. I don't know if she ever worked before, but that's not really important. When the series starts, she's just at home. It's summertime, so the kids aren't in school, and she has a 3-year-old daughter and 6-year-old and 9-year-old boys. One thing that really got me into things in the very beginning on this series is that I have a almost 6-year-old and a 9-year-old, and you could really tell that Erin Ampersand is a parent, and that she really thought out the struggles that you would have of parenting children in a system apocalypse where they're going to have to do fighting and things like that. Our main character, Megan Moretti is her name. She's very smart, but she's not athletic in any way. It's mentioned that she's slightly overweight, that she's had 3 kids, including one not too long ago, and is most of her energy goes into raising children, so that's understandable. She's just kind of a good, fun character, I feel like, because you're so used to in these ones, very frequently you'll have like an alpha male type character, Carl from Dungeon Crawler Carl. You have Jake from Defiance of the Fall. Also Jake from Primal Hunter. And so, wait a minute, it's Alex from Defiance of the Fall, sorry. You have these characters who are super driven, and most of the time they're super driven because they want to level fastest, or the Primal Hunter is the one I'm doing right now, and people, you'll level from D grade, or you level from E grade, then go to D, C, B, A, S, and then eventually become a god. And, our main character, that's his goal, is to eventually become a god. So he's going to be out there, doing the craziest, most risky things he can do in order to get experience points. In this case, Megan, her goal is to do things that try to help her children out, right? Her prime responsibility in this series is making sure that her kids don't die, since kids have to fight. That's something that, Dungeon Crawler Carl, for example, kids are not in the dungeon. They're on Earth in some facility that doesn't really get talked about. It's kind of shadowy. In Primal Hunter that I'm doing right now, all children immediately after the tutorial is done became level 10. And, they're off with their parents. They don't have to do their fighting. I don't think they can even level until they're, hit puberty. And the same kind of a situation with Primal Hunter, with Defiance of the Fall. But in this case, raising your kids is a big deal. People also in this one still have to eat. That's something that in some of the other ones really gets put down on, the importance scale. Needing to go to the bathroom, all these kind of things still happen in this series. And I think that that's kind of really like the big thing with this one is that in some cases, this one's a lot more personal than some of these other series are. I don't know. I just kind of feel for the characters. I feel for Megan Moretti a whole lot more than in some of the other series, just because of the fact that she's raising these kids and that they're going to have to go off and fight too, right? Even though, her daughter barely even understands what's going on and is terrified most of the time. And I feel like she just does such a great job of really, showing what it would be like to be a mother in this situation. Having her husband be gone was something that, was nice too in this case, because we got to see Megan who, while they're not religious, or it doesn't feel like you have a relationship where, the husband is the head of the house and he's the one that makes all the decisions. You still get the feeling that Megan relies, a lot on her husband, not to have to raise the kids, but to be her rock and her support in those situations prior to this. And then, when it all happens and he's thousands of miles away, she's going to have to do things on her own. I think that's a pretty good description of the book and the series and what it is. Now, I have read 3 books, all 3 of them that are out. You can read like new chapters for book 4 on Royal Road. Once again, Royal Road. I think I've mentioned it once previously, but it is a site where you can go on and read a lot of these LitRPGs first are there if they're not on Patreon. And those chapters will be put out often, like very frequently. Some of these guys are putting out thousands of pages a year. This case isn't quite so extreme, but you can read a bunch of the chapters of it. They'll come out every couple weeks, and they'll be there before the book is finished. And then I've been listening to these on audiobook. I forgot to write down the name of the audiobook narrator, but it is a woman, and she's also very good. I really like her voice, and I feel like it really sounds like a mid-30s mom. Now let's talk about the good, the bad, and then my final thoughts on this series so far. As far as the good, like I said, it's got its own unique flavor with having kids involved. The leveling system is a little bit different as well. Just like in a lot of them, you kill things and you get points, and then you use those points in order to get skills and things like that, right? I like, though, that in this case, you want your skills that you choose, the closer they are to another skill you already have. So, for example, one of her kids uses heat magic to start off with, or shoots fireballs. Then the next skill that they get is cold, and there's a really good synergy between it. And so say you have 3 skills that have like a really close synergy. Well, once you hit 100%, you get a little bit better level of your skill, 200%, 300%, and so on, right? I really like how that works, so that you don't just try to end up, doing a whole bunch of, being a jack of all trades hurts you a little bit. So specializing is important, which obviously when you're doing things like that, like teamwork becomes more necessary than in some of the other series, right? Jake, for example, in Primal Hunter, which I've just mentioned, I'm on book 6. He's a solo fighter basically, and he is a little bit of a jack of all trades. But I like how, even like Megan and her kids, and it's fun too that she has a lot of trouble getting her daughter, who's only 3, to like choose the things she wants her to choose because she doesn't quite understand things, right? So that's another factor in here that's kind of fun. I feel like she just does a great job, the author, of, making you feel like what it would feel like to be a parent. There feels like there's bigger stakes on a personal level than a lot of other series that I've read. I feel like Matt Denman does a good job with Carl, but even still, right, Carl, he's got to raise Donut. But Donut's a powerhouse in her own right, and, she's childlike as a cat, but it's not, the same quite as having your own children. And, that 3, 6, and 9, you're dealing with kids that are still young and dealing with a lot of their emotions and things like that. I feel like those are real positives, the way that she does that. I also feel like in this case, another positive is that like it does require like teamwork in the community itself, because people still have to eat and they still have to go to the bathroom and they still have to do, the day-to-day kind of things that are necessary, for us, that often go by the wayside in a lot of these system apocalypse books. I guess in Dungeon Crawler Carl, it's a funny, people having to use the bathroom is a big thing too, but in some of the other ones, it feels like you don't. I just feel like in general too that, I like these smaller stakes, and I like the way it goes. Now, on to the bad. I think the biggest bad in this case is that it does feel like it's a little bit of a niche series, in that I don't know if 20-year-old me would have cared at all in some cases about this, even if I had, enjoyed LitRPG back then. I don't actually know that it was really much of a thing when I was a kid or a teenager even, but if it had been, I'm not sure that this would have been a series that I would have really gotten into like I've gotten into it now. And I think that that's because, that it does feel like more personal, and like it is clearly geared towards parents. Not to say that you won't enjoy this if you aren't. And actually, one other thing too, I want to go back on the goods. I know that this is getting out of order here, but this is way better edited and way better written, in my opinion, than an awful lot of the other series that I'm reading. And maybe that's partially because she's not putting out thousands of pages a year. Man, I'll tell you what, Primal Hunter, I love the world building part of it, but I can't even count the number of times that the author wrote, not that what he chose wasn't good, far from it. I mean, that word far from it, there's phrases that are just repeated over and over again that can really get on my nerves sometimes, while still, I still love it. The writing quality in this one is clearly a step above a lot of the other RPGs. I'd say more like the Dungeon Crawler Carl level, where I don't know if she's got her own, separate editor, but it does feel like, in this case, I think the writing is better. But like getting back to the bad, that does feel way more niche. I did feel some anxiety at times because of having the kids, right? We do get that bigger world building around book 3. So while there is some world building in 1 and 2, if the world building parts of it are what's big to you, then that's a little bit of a negative as well. I think that if you're a binge listener or reader like I am, then that's not as big of a deal. But I think if I had gotten into like book 1, and then had to wait till book 2 and then book 3 came out, I would have knocked things down just a tiny bit because of me liking the world building elements. And Earth is less changed in this one than it is in a lot of other system apocalypse books, where like suddenly you have beasts and things like that. In this case, obviously there are beasts, but like we're not like completely terraforming Earth, right, in this one, in the way that some of the other series do. So I think that, the same kind of things where like if you're a big, world building, huge meta stakes kind of person, then maybe this isn't quite the series for you. But for me, who, I generally am the big metaverse, liking the bigger picture stuff more, and the crafting and all that kind of stuff. I still found that this was a series that I really enjoyed. But like I said, this is one that I'll fully admit that I loved an awful lot, but that I do think that it probably has a slightly more limited audience than some of the other series that I've talked about in the past. But I absolutely, think it's something worth giving a shot to. So my final thoughts would be that if you go into it knowing that it is going to be a little bit different than, like, say, Primal Hunt or Dungeon Crawler Carl or anything like that, that it at times, you're going to feel more emotional, I think, than anything but maybe Dungeon Crawler Carl. That it feels smaller scale and more personal than some of the other books, I think. If you want to see what happens to a series where you're going to have to deal with kids in a system apocalypse, then I really can't recommend it enough. I really do think that the writing quality is a step above most of these other RPGs. And all in all, I think that through 3 books, I would give the series a solid 4 out of 5 or 8 out of 10. I guess maybe more like 8.5. I'd give it a B+ for sure. The first couple of books, the first book I really, really loved. That one's like a 9 out of 10. The second book, at times I feel like maybe I felt too many nerves while I was doing it. And then book 3 is back to that 9 out of 10 book for me, where we start to get into learning more about the wider metaverse and the system that that we're all a part of, and we get to learn about how Earth fits in, why a shocking percentage of the body modification skills have side effects that aren't so hot, and just the wider politics of the universe. Like I said, I really loved book 1 and book 3, and book 2 was still good. But I think that maybe I would have liked to have gotten into that wider stuff just a little bit earlier. All in all, though, if you know what you're getting into, and you like LitRPG, or maybe you're not certain that LitRPG of the Dungeon Crawler Carl or the truly craziness scale is for you, and you want a book that is more personal while still dipping your toes into it, and that kids are going to play a big role, then this is a series that maybe you want to look at. All right, I think that I'm rambling on enough. The next book that we'll talk about, I'm going to see where I'm at, how long it takes me to read the first of the Spiffbo finalists that I have not read yet. And if I am going to get that done, this coming weekend, then I'll do my first episode. If not, then I will probably talk a little bit more about 1 or 2 of the books that I've read over the course of the summer. Like I said, it's just been basically 6 straight months of nothing but LitRPG. I am not ashamed of that. Started off a little bit feeling guilty about it, but I kind of did my own thing all summer, and I enjoyed it. I was dealing with, like I said, just crazy number of hours of work and kid obligations, and so I just, I wanted to do the things I like, and I really like world building, and that is one thing that LitRPG really gives you, is a lot of world building. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll have an episode again out this coming week, and by the next weekend we'll have that first Spiffbo one out. Hope you guys are all enjoying the videos that I'm getting back out, and I hope you all had a happy Halloween. Thanks. Bye.